this was the home exercise given to you. I hope everything is fine with this company database and you created your relational schema. So let's proceed further. In this chapter, chapter number 4, we are discussing what is relational schema or what is relational database schema. We saw some restrictions that we should apply while creating relational schema, and those restrictions I am going to give you a quick review of those restrictions. Those were primary key restrictions, foreign key restrictions, constraints. The better word is constraint. Primary key constraint, foreign key constraint, then unique key constraint, no duplicate, unique, same thing, not null value, not null constraint. Then we saw examples to understand these concepts. Okay. Then is we saw an example for creating a relational schema, and we saw that if some formal specification are given to us, like here, this is the exercise that we did in the class, and we created its relational schema. Then a home exercise was given to you. After that, we are going to see that if we have some constraints, then and the user does some violation, how can those violations be handled? And we want to see some examples of the violations. Basic operations for the relations. Another name of relations, I hope you remember, as we discussed in our last class, another name of the relation is table. So what are the basic update operations on relations? Once you create a relation, a table is created. After that, what do you do with that? You insert a row or a tuple, you delete a tuple, or you modify a tuple. These are the 3 basic operations that you perform on relations in the database. Yani, after you create a table, you can insert your records, you can delete your records, you can modify your records. While performing these operations, we must ensure that our integrity constraints, they must not be violated. They must remain intact. Those must be observed. This is the topic of our today's lecture, and we are going to see So let's first of all discuss with insert operation. When you are inserting some records, there can be 4 violations that can happen. First, domain constraint can be violated. Second, key constraint can be violated. Third, referential integrity can be violated, and entity integrity can be violated. Let's discuss them one by one. Domain constraint, if you remember, domain constraint, domain means set of possible values. When you are inserting a new value, maybe you are inserting a value that is not possible. For example, we saw that we set a constraint on sex, and it was male and female. For male, we allowed M. For female, we allowed F. So these are the 2 possible values, M and F. If you try to insert any other character, for example 1 or 2 or A or B, these are not allowed. So if you try to insert anything else which is not allowed, then you are trying to violate domain constraint. Next constraint is key constraint, and in key constraint, maybe we have some attribute or some entity is already defined as not null, and then if you try to insert a null value, it is a violation and database will not allow this. Similarly, no duplicate. In no duplicate, if some value exists before and you try to insert it again, this is a violation, and database DBMS will not allow you to insert duplicate values. Referential integrity, that is another name of referential integrity, is foreign key. If you are trying to insert a value in a child entity or a child table which does not exist in its parent table's primary key, then foreign key is violated. The condition or constraint of the foreign key, which is called referential integrity, it is violated, and DBMS will not allow you to do that. Entity integrity is that if you have defined some column or some attribute as primary key, then you cannot leave primary key as null. So primary key value must be entered. These are the 4 insert violations that can be that one can do while inserting records in database or in relation. Inshallah, we are going to see some more examples. Although we saw, alhamdulillah, several examples for insert operations in our last class, let me quickly show you, just in case if you don't remember. I will remind you. You saw here that we are trying to insert 2 values, and we saw here foreign key constraints, that the foreign key may be violated. So we saw this example already, that we saw actually when we were trying to understand foreign key. At the same time, we also considered its constraint. Similarly, we saw the constraints of null values and not null values. Similarly, insert operations, we saw no duplicate values or unique values. Unique value violations, we already saw it. Yeah. Today we are going to see the same concepts with the help of more examples. Under the topic now is that the insert operations violation of integrity constraints. Let's first of all see the other 2 as well. The second type of violations you can do is delete in delete operation, that when you are deleting some records, then there can be some violations. What those violations are? First of all, it can be referential integrity. Yani, another name of referential integrity is foreign key constraint. If you are trying to delete a record in the parent table for which some records exist in child table under the foreign key, then those records should not be allowed to delete it. I will show you more examples. Let me go back to the slide of foreign key. Yes, let's see this one. Let me make it full screen. Okay, this is the parent table. Its name is department. In that table, department ID is the primary key. We declared it as a primary key. And this is a child table, employees. Its name is employees. In child table, there is also a column, department number. Since department number is primary key here, so in employees table, we declare it as foreign key. Now all these values, they must be present in the parent table. Only then you will be allowed to insert these values here. When you insert 10, DBMS checks whether the 10 exists in the parent table or not. Since 10 exists, you will be allowed to insert 10 value here. Similarly, next 10 is allowed, next 10 is allowed, 30. When you insert 30 here, DBMS checks that if 30 exists in the parent table, yes, 30 exists in the parent table, you will be allowed to insert 30. And we saw that when you try to insert 25 in this employees table under department number, see 25 is here, DBMS will check in the parent table, 25 does not exist here in the parent table, so you will not be allowed to insert 25. Okay, this is what we saw last time. We are considering now delete operations in the parent table. In the parent table, if you want to delete the first record, that is 10 administration 1700, you write a query to delete this record. Okay, if you delete this record, then these 10 values 10 10 10 will be a violation of foreign key, because these values must be present here in the parent table departments. But if you delete 10, then there will be no value 10 here, and these values will automatically become a foreign key violation, and this is called referential integrity. Referential means that this column department number has its reference back to its parent table departments. So this, once again, this column department number has its reference in some other table. So referential integrity means that a reference is there and we are violating some reference. So deleting any record here in the parent table for which there is a reference in another table should not be allowed, because then foreign key references will be violated. In that case, what can be done? That we want to delete this 10 from the parent table departments. We want to delete it. What should be the possible operation? The possible operations are three. Number one, restrict. Number two, cascade. Number three, set null. What does this mean? It means when we will write a query where a foreign key is involved, with that key we can mention restrict, or we can mention cascade, or we can mention set null. In restrict, what will happen? Let me take you back. Okay, I will copy paste it here for our ease, so that we don't have to go back and forth again and again. That's okay now. The first operation that we can request in the query is restrict. Restrict means that if we are violating some foreign keys, then operation must be rejected. DBMS should not allow us, and it should reject our operation if there is any foreign key violation. That is restrict. Second, cascade. Cascade means that if we are deleting some record or some tuple for which there are references in any other table, then delete the record from here in the parent table, as well as delete all the records from the child table. Yani, if we want to delete a tuple with 10 where department ID is 10, it will be deleted from here. If we say cascade, it will delete all the tuples where there are 10. So 10, this tuple, the first tuple will be deleted, second will be deleted, and third tuple will also be deleted. This is what cascade means. Okay, yani the operation of delete should be propagated into all the reference tables. Okay, next is set null. If we mention set null, then DBMS will delete this record, this first record or first tuple, while these 10 values will be set null. So this will be converted to null, yani absent. This will be converted to null, yani absent, and this will be converted to null, yani absent, nothing. That is set null operation. So when we are referencing delete operation, we must mention either restrict or cascade or set null values, so that these three output, which one of these will be our interest, and we must mention it specifically. Third possible integrity violation of integrity constraint is when we are doing update. Update means there is some existing value and we want to change it. For example, here the first value is 10. We want to make it 15. How does DBMS do that? We send a query request to DBMS to please update this value to be 15. First of all, DBMS deletes this value 10 and then insert a new value 15. So it means two operations are performed on update. First, delete. We already saw the violations of delete integrity constraint in this slide, and we saw violations of insert integrity constraint in this slide. So yani when we are performing update operation, both of these constraints, both of these operations are performed. So the violations of both of these constraints will be checked. Let's see now some examples once more so that we understand it once again. These are two relations. What is the other name of relation? Can anybody remind me? These are two relations. This is relation employee, and second one, this is relation department. In employee, we have employee ID, employee name, salary, department number, and in the relation department number, there are two attributes. In the relation department, the two attributes, department number and department name. You see here that the department number, it exists in this relation as well as in employee relation. So where do you think it is the primary key? Of course, in department relation, this is the primary key. And you see here it is underlined. This department number is underlined. Yani it is the primary key here. In employee table, what is the primary key? Employee ID. This department number, it's the primary key here, and it has its references in employee table. So we will declare it as a foreign key. In this table, employee, this will be a foreign key. Okay, nobody remembers? I told you, I have repeated it several times, that another name of relation is table. Guys, do remember these things so that you don't get confused. If you don't understand what is relation, what is table, you will be confused, and then you may not understand some things. Okay, so this is our database state. Yani in this database we have two tables, and we are going to see some examples, some operations. Here we are going to see insert operation. We want to insert this record, first one. We want to see to insert this record. Insert into employee. This is our table is employee. We want to insert in this table these values: null, Ashraf Muhammad, and 2001. Yani null will go to first column, Ashraf Muhammad will go to second column, 2000 will go to salary, and 1 will go to department. What is the output of this operation? My question is that you want to insert these values into employee table. When I make a query to insert these values into employee table, what will be the output? Should simple, is this allowed or not? If this is allowed, fine. If this is not allowed, you should tell me why this is not allowed. Okay. Yes, what you should properly say is that employee ID is the primary key. We are trying to insert null in primary key. This is a violation. This is a violation, and we should not be allowed for this violation because primary key cannot be duplicated and cannot be null. This is the property of primary key. No duplicate, not null. We are trying to insert here null into the primary key, which is not allowed. So the result is that this insertion will be rejected. Guys, these are important questions for your exams because there may be something like that in exams. So please be very careful in understanding these. You should understand them very well so that if there is a question like that, you should be able to do that, inshallah. Okay, second example. This is again insert operation. The values are 1, 2, 3, 4. Ashraf Muhammad 2001. What is the output of this operation? Will this be allowed or not? Salim, Fras, Ali Muhammad. Salim says it is allowed. Others, what do others say? If you try to insert 1, 2, 3, 4, this goes to employee ID. Check employee ID. Is there 1, 2, 3, 4 already in this table? Yes, the first record is already 1, 2, 3, 4. Employee ID is primary key. And what is primary key? The two properties of primary key are that it cannot be duplicate and it cannot be null. Here, when you are inserting 1, 2, 3, 4, you are inserting a duplicate value. Duplicate means it already exists. It already exists. So it should not be allowed. So result is this insertion is rejected because it violates the primary key constraint. Yani no two tuples, at least no primary key value should be the same. Okay, let's go to see some other example. Again, insert. This example is again for the insert operation. Insert into employee, and the values are 8954 Ashraf Muhammad 2005. Is this allowed or not? Okay, where does this value 5 go to? This 5 goes to, this 5 will go to department number. This department number is a foreign key. This department number is a foreign key, and its primary key and its reference is department. In this department table, check the department number. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no 5 here. Once again, we are trying to insert these values into employee relation. See here, we are trying to insert into employee. So this 5 value will go to, we have to check all the things. And what are all the things? Primary key, foreign key, no duplicate, and not null. These are all the conditions that we have to check. Not null and not no duplicate are automatically applied to employee ID. And foreign key we have to check. This department number is the foreign key. Here we are trying to insert 5. So 5 must have its reference back to its parent table, which is department table. In department table, is there any department number 5? No, there is no department number 5 here. So database will not, DBMS will not allow us to insert 5 value for the department number here because this is a foreign key. Okay, mashallah, now you are getting the point. Okay, let's go to next example. Yes, Tariq. We must choose the department number which already exists in its parent table. It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. See here, 1, 2, 3, these are the allowed values. Because this is a foreign key, first of all, it must exist into its parent table. Like I gave you example, Dr. Farrukh, I am a foreign key here in Saudi Arabia. I should exist here only when I exist in my parent country. My parent country is Pakistan. It cannot happen that I exist here in Saudi Arabia and I do not exist in Pakistan. It is not possible. Okay. So Taban, I must exist first in the parent table, and then I must exist I can exist into the foreign key table. Let's see one more example. This is another example of insert operations, and this is the insert operation. We are inserting this record into employee table. Can you please check if this is allowed or not? We are trying to insert lots of money into salary table, and salary table, we see these are numbers, so it should be number. When we will be creating this table, we will tell at that time its domain constraint. Domain constraint is numbers value. So when we will say, you do not see that constraint here, but mashallah tabarakallah, you understand from your own knowledge that salary cannot be this of characters, it can be only numbers. So this operation should not be allowed, it should be rejected. Mashallah. Okay, now we are going to see some examples of delete operation. In delete operation, this is the query that we want to perform. Delete from the table department where department ID is 1. Delete from the department, delete the tuple where department ID is 1. Yani we are trying to delete this first tuple because department ID 1 is here. So we want to delete this tuple, we want to delete this record. Should it be allowed or not? Should this query be allowed or no? If no, tell me why. Yes, Faraz, mashallah. You wrote others. Your answer is correct, but the explanation, the better way of explaining is, if we delete 1, the tuple with department number 1 here, you see, is this department number has its references into any other table? Yes, it has its references into employee relation. So when we delete 1 from here, it means its references, if those are there in the employee table, those will become invalid. 1 is here, 1 is also here. When we delete a record from here with the department number 1, then 1 will not be here anymore. What about this foreign key? Foreign key says that these values must be present in the parent table. If the foreign key values are not present in the parent table, those become invalid. So these two records will become invalid. So what should we mention? We can mention three things. Number one, as I told you before, first of all, this operation is not allowed because these references, these come from this parent table. If there is no entry of 1 in the parent table because we deleted it, so these will become invalid. So this operation cannot be performed. Okay, this is operation is rejected. However, when you are performing delete operation, you can say with delete operation restrict. If you say restrict, operation will be rejected. If you say cascade, cascade means these two tuples will also be deleted because the references of 1, it is coming from here, and if the record is deleted into parent table, it must also be deleted into foreign table, foreign key tables. This is cascade. Third, if you mention here not null, set null, so this one, instead of in the place of this one, it will be set to null, and this one value will also be set to null. But if you don't mention anything, the result will be the record is the insertion, this insert operation will be rejected. Okay. We are at delete operation. This is what we saw. Check the other one. One moment. Now we are trying to delete from employee table the tuples where department ID is 1. We're trying to delete from employee table. The first table is employee table, and we are deleting the tuples with department ID 1. Yani, the first two tuples we want to delete. Is this allowed or not? Yes, you are right. This deletion is accepted because this department number is a foreign key here. You can call it a child table. Okay. In the foreign key table, you can delete the record, but you cannot delete the record in the parent table. In the parent table, then the foreign references are checked. If you are deleting from the child table or the foreign key table, then the references are not checked. Okay, this is allowed. Okay, here is a summary of what we studied, and the summary says that the constraints can be domain constraints. Okay, before I give you the summary, if I give you a question like that in the exams, the question is delete from the employee table a tuple where department ID is 1. This is the first table, is employee table. We want to delete the tuples where department ID is 1. You see here, in this first record, department ID is 1, second record, department ID is 1. So it means we want to delete these two tuples. According to this query, we want to delete all the tuples where department ID is 1. So department ID is 1 here, department ID is 1 here. These two tuples will be deleted. Question is this query allowed or not? This department number is a foreign key in this table employee, while it's the primary key in the department relation. If the key is foreign, we do not, the DBMS, or we do not check it into its parent table. However, if you are trying to delete this one from here, it will be checked back into its child table or foreign key table. So you can, for the simplicity, consider this child table, consider this parent, because this is the primary key. Its references are going into child table. If you are deleting a record from the child table, we do not make a check into its parent table. Okay. But if you are deleting it from the parent table, it is always checked back into its child table. So if you are deleting one from here, you are deleting it from parent. So this record cannot exist now. If when it is not existing here, then it cannot exist into its child table. So either this operation should be rejected, that is restrict operation, or you delete it from the child also, that is cascade, or you set these values to null into the child table, that is set null, free operations. So since you are deleting something into the from the child table, it is allowed. If you are deleting something from the parent table, it is not allowed until you do either cascade or you do set null. If we have more than one what? Yes, all those foreign keys will be checked. Here in this example, you see one foreign key. If there are two foreign keys here, maybe this employee name is coming from some other table, then it will also be checked. All the foreign keys will be checked. So deletion from the parent will ensure we must check it from the parent, from the child table. If you are deleting from the child table, no need to check from the parent. In a summary, so summary is summary of the types of the relation constraints. First, domain constraint. In domain constraint violation, you check the possible set of possible values. Like in salary, we cannot insert text values. In primary key constraint, you check the values are unique, yani no duplicate. In not null, you make sure that the values are existing there. It must not be absent. And in entity integrity constraint, you check that the primary key value should not be null. In referential integrity, you check the foreign key values.